In this week's parasha, Parashat HaZinu, we have the song, the shir of HaZinu. It's a tough song. It's a shir of tochacha, of rebuke, but nevertheless, it's still a song. And it's a song that even under the rebuke reminds us that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always there for us. Hashem is our tzur. Hashem is our rock. Hashem will ultimately protect us. Hashem will ultimately bring down all of our enemies. It ultimately is a song that brings us emunah and bitachon in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, even with all the tough parts of the song. Now, there's a Gemara in Rosh Hashanah, it's Daf Lamed Aleph, Amud Aleph, which discusses the different songs of the Leviim during their avodah in the Beit HaMikdash. When they're doing the service in the temple, they would sing different songs based on what time of day it was, what day, what was going on exactly. So the Gemara asks, what was the song that the Leviim, what did the Levites sing during the Musaf on Shabbat? So says the Gemara, B'musafei de Shabbata, ma'ayu omrim. What was the song that they would sing? What would they recite on the Musaf of a regular Shabbat? Amar Ravanan Barava Amarab HaZiv Lach. They would sing the song of HaZiv Lach. Now, HaZiv Lach literally means that it translates as the splendor, the radiance, the Ziv Lach. It's for you, it's yours. The splendor is yours. But Chazal understand that HaZiv Lach is actually just a mnemonic. It's a Rashi Tevot for the song of HaZinu, meaning our parasha, our song of HaZinu, that was the song that was sung every Shabbat by the Musaf offerings, but they would break it up. Into 6 different parts, and that's the mnemonic. That's the Rashi Tevot. The HaZiv Lach is Hey Zayin Yud Vav Lamed Kaf, and that would correspond to HaZinu divided into 6 sections, each one beginning with one of those letters. So, like Rashi explains, for example, HaZiv Lach, Parashat Shirat HaZinu, Chokim Ota L'Shisha Prakim. We break it up into 6. Harishon, the Hey of HaZiv is HaZinu. Hasheni, the Zayin is Zechor Yomot Olam. The pasuk that starts with Zechor Yomot Olam. Hashlishi, the Yud is Yarkivei Abot Haaretz. Harevi'i, Vayar Hashem Vayinatz. And Rashi goes on to explain how HaZiv Lach corresponds to 6 different sections, with the first letter corresponding to the start of that pasuk. The truth of the matter is, there is a bit of a machloket amongst the mefarshim when we get to the later ones, the yuds and the vavs. Which pasuk do we start? Which one do we end? So it's not exactly agreed upon how to divide it up into 6, but everybody agrees that there is a 6, and the pasukim are supposed to start with the first letter, even though there's a couple of pasukim that start with a yud or that start with a vav. So that's the idea. They would be singing HaZinu while they're bringing the Musaf on Shabbat. So that's interesting. Why are they singing the song of HaZinu? Why is that the song? The Gemara goes on and says, "Ve'amar Rav Hanan Barava Amarav kederech shechalukin kan." Just like they're divided over here in the temple, just like they were recited during the offerings, broken up in these 6 different ways, kach chalukin beveit HaKnesset, so too in the Beit Knesset, when you're dividing up those aliyot, when we want to get to the full 7 aliyot of the Torah, we're going to break up HaZinu into the first 6, and based on these psukim in the exact same way. So we're going to read these psukim when we read the Torah in the exact same way, and that's the idea of HaZiv Lach, the nice mnemonic, Rashi Tevot, for Parashat HaZinu. Okay, very nice. But comes along the Mefarshim, and they say, wait a second, if our song is known as a Ziv Lach, we're saying it now in the Torah, meaning the radiance, the splendor, the glory, it's yours right now, this beautiful shine, this countenance is right now, it must mean deeper things. So here's what I saw. It comes along the Haidah in 2 places, and he actually starts by quoting off the Maharsha. The Maharsha teaches us, Shabbat yeshlo ziv, HaZiv Lach, Musaf of Shabbat. We're saying there's this radiance, this beautiful splendor. Where does that come from? That is Shabbat. Shabbat has a special splendor. Where did it come from? HaShabbat yeshlo ziv mipi Moshe shekaran or panav. You want to know where that shine comes from? Whenever we speak about this radiance and this little glow, it always takes us back to Moshe Rabbeinu when he came back the second time from with the second Luchot after bringing tshuva for the Jewish people. All of a sudden he had this glow on his face, the Keren or of Moshe Rabbeinu. That's the same glow of Shabbat. Rabbi Iyun Yaakov Zal Katav, says the Chida, and if you open up the Iyun Yaakov, he writes Katav Shu Bachar Be'om Menucha B'Mitzrayim Yom Shabbat. We have midrashim that Moshe Rabbeinu was actually already began. He got it from Paro. He convinced Paro that the Jews could stop working. They could take a break on Shabbat. So really, Moshe, in a certain sense, was inaugurated the day of Shabbat. That's actually one of the kavanot when we say Zecher Yetziat Mitzrayim when it comes to Shabbat, because Moshe already, when we were slaves in Egypt, was able to convince Paro to give us Shabbat as Shabbat. So the glow of Shabbat, the Ziv of Shabbat, is really a zechut that comes from the Ziv of Moshe Rabbeinu. But then the Chida goes on and gives his own approach. Va'ani ba'oni, He says, me in my humble opinion, I think, Nirali, they're most people Shakatav Rabbeinu Arizal. He says, I think based on a teaching of the Arizal. Says the Arizal. But the pasuk tells us, "Vayinatzlu bnei Yisrael et ediyam, u'Moshe yikach et ha'ohel." Where did Moshe Rabbeinu's glow come from? We've spoken so many times in the past the different approaches in the midrashim. Where did that glow come from? There's one opinion that originally at Matan Torah, Bnei Yisrael had two special crowns. We've been speaking a lot about crowns, and the crowns of the letters, and Rabbi Akiva. Well, originally Bnei Yisrael had crowns, and their crowns were two crowns. One for Naaseh, one for Nishma. But ultimately, when they sinned with the egel, they lost the crowns, and so to speak, Moshe Rabbeinu acquired those crowns. So it seems to be that the keter, the ketarim of the Jewish people now comes to Moshe Rabbeinu. I think if we take this, we actually look a little bit deeper into the Rabbi Akiva crown story, and maybe we can get very different angles on what's going on. But it seems to be that the crowns of the Jewish people, according to the Arizal, went to Moshe Rabbeinu. But Moshe Rabbeinu would return it to the Jewish people. He kind of seems like he took it as like a pikadon, as like a deposit for us. He was watching over for us until we could reach the level when we can get back to that level where we can get the crowns and deserve it. But as long as we didn't deserve it, so Moshe Rabbeinu kind of like keeps it for himself right now. He represents all of us, and he would give it, but as a zechut and as a kindness and as a chesed, every Shabbat, ubekol Shabbat machzir leYisrael ediyam. Every Shabbat, Moshe Rabbeinu gives us back our crowns. V'zehu haneshama Yetera shel Shabbat, and that is the Neshama Yetera of Shabbat. V'zehu shekatuv, that's what it says. Yisvach Moshe b'matanat chelko. It's a special matana of Moshe Rabbeinu, and he says, therefore, on Musaf Shabbat, which is a remes to the Tosefet Neshama Yetera b'Shabbat, which corresponds to the Tosefet Shabbat, the extra Shabbat, the Tosefet. It's Musaf. V'zehu Musafei Shabbat. Anu omrim HaZiv Lach, Lomar Zorat Neshama Yetera Hi Shelcha Moshe Rabbeinu Shezachita Ba. So we actually, we say HaZiv Lach, where they're singing HaZinu, which is Rashi Tevot, and when we break it up into HaZiv Lach, this mnemonic, we're really saying, Moshe Rabbeinu, all the glow that we have on Shabbat, and all this that you gave us back, our Neshama Yetara, you gave us back our Keter, you gave us back our glow, we really know it's all coming from you, and therefore we're hinting to Moshe Rabbeinu and the greatness of Moshe Rabbeinu. Okay, comes along the Chatam Sofer. And the Chatam Sofer writes, we all know Moshe Rabbeinu was Zocher to the 49th level. Now we brought down in the past, maybe he was Zocher to a little bit of the 50th level, maybe he got it and then he lost it, Lech Red. Actually, maybe these crowns that are coming to the Jewish people are a replacement for the 50th level that he had reached. Maybe he got 1/1000th, 1/100th, 1/150th, the small Aleph from Vayikra. Maybe he got a small bit of it as well. But all of this, Moshe Rabbeinu has this glow from the 49th level he has. But says the Chatam Sofer, it says now we get to HaZinu, now we're ending the Torah, now it says HaZiv Lach. So Chatam Sofer doesn't go as far as I want to say now, but maybe now we can say, let's take the Chatam Sofer a step further. HaZiv Lach. Lach is Gematria 50, says the Chatam Sofer. So maybe we're saying now by HaZinu, now by the end, Moshe Rabbeinu is not going to be Zocheh to the Lach. He's now going to be Zocheh to that final Shar Nun in the very end. Now the Chatam Sofer also goes on to say that now in HaZinu it's being made clear to us that Moshe, the glow was really yours. HaZiv Lach, it really was your glow. We're singing the song, we're understanding the song, we're understanding Moshe Rabbeinu, the glow, the radiance, you had it all. Because we might have thought, like we said, Moshe Rabbeinu was only holding it for us as a deposit, as a pikadon. We had messed up with the ego, so Moshe, the tzaddik, holds it for us and then gives it to us on Shabbat, the Tosefet Shabbat, the Musaf Shabbat, like we saw. But now, says the Chatam Sofer, maybe we thought, but it really wasn't Moshe. Maybe he was just holding it for us, but he wasn't zochet. It wasn't his merit. But now he says at the end of the Torah, Moshe Rabbeinu is about to die, and when he finally dies, Yeshua takes over, and we don't have the same level of light. We're going from the sun down to the moon, while Yeshua has his own radiance, he has his own glow, he has his own reflection of the sun. He's not zochet to these same crowns that Moshe Rabbeinu had. So at this point, we really realize HaZiv Lach. Moshe Rabbeinu, you really were zochet to those crowns. They're yours, zechut himself. Yeah, you're doing us a chesed, you give it back to us on Shabbat, you'll share it with us, you'll give it to us also, but your level yourself, your personal zechut, HaZiv Lach, you really were zochet to those crowns, to those karnei hod, it really was yours. Now comes along with Moshe Wolfson, Munat Itecha, and he brings down that the word ziv, the word splendor, radiance, it's actually a targum that says that the word hadar in the Torah is ziv. So he brings down a targum that hadar is ziv. I saw similarly in Sefer Yechahen Pe'er. So he says that we have this holiday season right now. He says the holiday season is all about the hadar. Hadar is another language for ziv, of beauty, of splendor. He says Rosh Hashanah is symbolized by the shofar. The shofar is from the language of shufra, which means beautiful. Yom Kippur, we dress in all white. We're dressing in our Hadar and our Hidur, putting on the beautiful clothing. Comes along Sukkot. Sukkot, we have the pre-Etz Hadar. We have the Etrog. So therefore, he says the whole holiday season, through our Ma'asim Tovim, through the way we try to step it up for our Kadosh Baruch Hu, the mitzvot that we're doing, we're bringing out the Ziv. We're bringing out the Hadar. That's Sefer Yechahen Pe'er. Comes along with Moshe Wolfson, and he actually plays up the whole Ziv Lach connection to the Etrog, which is perfect because this year we have HaZinu post Yom Kippur right before Sukkot. So he says, Ziv Lach, Ziv being Hadar is a hint to the pre-Etz Hadar. He says, why? Where does our radiance come from? So he says, if we look at the etrog, we understand where the radiance of the etrog, where the glow from the etrog comes, where the beauty. Why is an etrog called a Priyat Hadar, the beautiful radiant fruit? Why is it called that? So Chazal, he gives a bunch of answers, but one of the more famous ones is, says the Gemara, because the etrog is dar kol hashana on the ilan. The etrog is Hadar, dar, it lives, it dwells, it stays, and it grows all year long on the tree. There's actually even an older Taimani custom to take very large etrogs that might have been on the tree for even more than a year. These really, really, really big ones, because the beauty in it is that it gets bigger and bigger, it keeps growing and growing. It's not a 1 year fruit that falls off. It's not seasonal that only makes it through half the year, a quarter of the year. The etrog can keep growing and growing on the tree. It doesn't stop growing, and that itself is a bit of a hint to the Jewish people. Says Rav Wolfson from a slightly different angle. He says that if it stays on the tree the whole year, then that means it makes it through all 4 seasons. And in our seasons, we have extreme cold, we have extreme heat, we have different kinds of rains. It is all the issues of the weather and the world trying to stop this tree and stop this fruit and not make it. And that's why we have seasonal fruits. Oh, this is a winter fruit, that's a summer fruit. The etrog can last through all the seasons. It can make it through. So says Rav Wolfson, so too Bnei Israel. We're now at the end of the year. Parshat HaZinu, we're about to finish the Torah. We've gone through so much this year, but we've stayed connected to the Ilan. We've stayed connected to the tree, to the Etz Chaim, Lach HaZikim Ba. We've stayed close to our Torah. We made it. We're still proud Jews. That's the Hadar. That's the Hidur. That's the HaZiv Lach. That's our shine. That through thick and thin, through all the difficulties, what it means to be a Jew in this whole world, the whole world can hate us, can say terrible things. No, we stay as Jews and we stay as proud Jews, and we just continue to grow and stay connected to our tree. We stay connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to the Torah. That is beautiful. That is Hadar. That is Ziv. And that's the whole concept of saying right now, Ha'azinu, the end of the Torah, HaZiv Lach. The radiance is yours, Jewish people. We're stepping it up. Shabbat Shalom.